I'm Michael Hoyle, and I teach AP Psychology at Bob Jones. I think, as far as questioning is concerned, I try to mix it up. A lot of people talk about the how and the whys, and those are really important. But a lot of times when I question, I try to build up with the what, the who, the where, to get to the how and the why. I've done that for years, no matter what subject I'm teaching, because I think with the base knowledge, then you can kind of stretch your mind to the how and the why. But if you don't cover the base first, the how and the why don't seem to come as easy to the kids. So that's really why I do it the way I do it. And I try not to call on necessarily individual students while I'm doing it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But really, I like the freedom of students just kind of blurting out the answers as they have them, just kind of calling out. That's just what works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. Some people need more structure than that. For me personally, it's not as important. But that's why I do what I do. Gotcha. The biggest thing I try to avoid is just giving them too much information to where I'm giving them the answer. Sometimes I have to kind of lead them in a little bit. If it looks like nobody's going to kind of come to the answer, I kind of try to lead them in a little bit. But that's really the biggest thing I try to avoid. I always want my questions to be, some of them I want them to have absolute answers, but some of them I want them to be open-ended. In psychology, it's perfect because it lends itself to a more open-ended atmosphere. Well, what do you think about this? Well, what do you think about this? Have you ever done this? Well, what happened when you did that? I try to keep somewhat of an open-ended environment when we're having discussions and I'm asking questions. How could we compare it to, let's say, a filing cabinet? How is the process of memory, of encoding, storage, and retrieval similar to how I would use a filing cabinet in the classroom? I think for the teacher, it's all in how you ask the question, because for me, I want to ask the question in a way that draws the student in. And if I can do that, and I can draw them into the topic and draw them into the answer, then the two of us are connecting on a one-to-one level. But I'm also connecting with the class because they're seeing that connection of that one-to-one level. And so then they, hopefully, my hope is they want to get involved too. I want them to feed off each other. For me, whole group is all about us feeding off each other. It's about them feeding off each other. It's about me feeding off them. It's about them feeding off me. And so I think that's one of the most valuable things about whole group instructions, because they get to feed off each other. This person gets to hear what the person across the room is saying and say, oh wait, yeah, I got an example that goes right along with that. And so then they just all kind of get to talking, and we get to have a really unique discussion about whatever it is we're talking about. So for me, that's the purpose. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things in the classroom that don't work. You're going to try things and it's going to flop, and you're going to leave that day going, I'm the most miserable teacher that ever walked the face of the planet. The truth is you're not. Just keep trying different things. What I have found in my almost 16 years of teaching is that you can't get stagnant, and the kids are looking for some new things to do. So that's why you want to keep trying different activities. You want to keep trying different ways of trying to get through to them. I know that we say all the time all the kids don't learn the same, and that's true. They don't. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out and do 30 activities in a class period. You pick the ones that seem to work for you, that seem to work for the kids. And you find that balance of what works for them, what works for you, and what works for your content. And that, to me, that's what you go with. But really, I think a lot of it's just trial and error. You're going to make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes.